Ernie Johnson joining us here once again on the show. How you been, EJ?
I'm doing great, Rich. How about you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there. Better for having you here. Cubs are a different team now, Ernie, huh? What?
Yeah, without question. I was, the day before the All-Star break, we had the Cubs and Pirates playing, and John Lester gave up 10 runs in the first inning, and the Cubs were struggling, and everybody's saying, hey, are they even going to make it? And then when you go 11-2 out of the break and you have your longest winning streak and the Brewers have their longest losing streak at the same time, it's amazing how that gap shrinks. And now the Cubs got the game and a half lead as we go into this series. And, yeah, so good stuff. I'm looking forward to it. And going home to Milwaukee, where I was born. And so it's always good to revisit the mean streets of Wauwatosa when I get the chance to go back to Wisconsin.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they made a Scorsese movie out of that or not.
It was in the works and somehow fell apart.
But it'll be interesting. You'll be in Milwaukee on the day that Bud Selig goes into Cooperstown as well. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, yes, indeed. But it's Milwauke's a great baseball city, and then when you have them playing the Cubs, and it's that short ride for all the Cubs fans, so it's going to be a great atmosphere, and looking forward to being up there.
Okay, and Schwarber had a couple of dingers, and they suddenly have a 3-game lead in the loss column over Milwaukee, just 1.5 right there.
Yeah.
But the Dodgers just appear invincible right now, Ernie. I don't know how anybody gets past them, but maybe the Cubs could do that if they face one another. Washington sitting there as well.
Yeah, right now it would be Chicago, Washington, who would play in the NLDS, and the Dodgers, and you wonder about Clayton Kershaw, obviously, with the back problem, and we'll see if how he comes back and if he is able to come back and that kind of thing. But yeah, when you're sitting 71-31, that's pretty darn impressive when you're 40 games over 500. So. These games are always fun, and you're getting into that time now where these head-to-head series mean so much, and so it's a huge series, I think, for Milwaukee to try to reestablish themselves and see if they can stay close. They can't lose the series.
Ernie Johnson joining me here, talking a little bit of baseball with the lead play-by-play announcer for MLB on TBS and Turner Sports joining me here on the show. I'm feeling that it's different with the NBA now in months like June and July, Ernie, once things change, once the playoffs are over, and August now might have some little bit of conversation with the Kyrie drama. Are you feeling the same thing?
Yeah, the season never ends. It used to be that, the NBA took a 20 at least, and you weren't talking about the league, but that's not the way it is anymore. And before you know it, they'll be in camps and getting ready for a season that's going to start a little earlier this year, in October. So no, it's been a year-long deal, and then you have these stories that come up, and the Kyrie thing is a little mystifying to me, and because you see a team that's got all those pieces, but it almost says to me that from what he saw in the finals that Cleveland team wasn't going to beat Golden State in the finals if it comes down to that again, and it's just interesting to me the mindset of players and wanting to be the guy as Kyrie wants to be, and so it's just the mindset is kind of shifting to me, and it's a little distressing.
Isn't that incredible that in the era of the super team, that one team, that the team that has the best chance of dethroning the super team of all super teams right now in the Warriors could be torn asunder because somebody doesn't want to be part of a super team, wants to start his own team.
Yeah.
It's really, that to me is one of the more fascinating wrinkles of the Kyrie split, if you will, Ernie.
Sure. Yeah. It's a, no I in team kind of a thing, but but Kyrie's like, I don't want to be in the guy's shadow, even though you've got a team there that is, far and away the best in the Eastern Conference. And now when you look at Kyrie wanting to be moved and all the talk about LeBron leaving after the next season, that you could be back to the Cleveland of old, unless you do make a deal on the Kyrie thing and pick up some really good pieces that make for a good future. But that's, it's been an intriguing thing. I mean, when you go back to the Kevin Durant situation, and you thought about a team that was that close to winning the Western Conference, and then he wants out, and then and now here's Kyrie saying, "Look, I know I'm a big part of this thing, and I want to be the guy." And so you're looking at a team, Cleveland, that could be just a shell of themselves if these dominoes fall like people are saying they will.
Well, I just know how it is on my set on game day morning, where I've got my Hall of Famers to my left, and their texts blow up, their phones blow up. There's all sorts of rumors, and they're talking about what's going on in locker rooms, and stories don't get reported because there's really nothing to actually report. It's just rumors and conjecture, and then a story happens, and suddenly the rumors and conjecture have all been fact all along. Have you heard anything on, just sitting on the set there about Kyrie and LeBron's relationship, that this makes sense, or were you just as surprised?
No, I was surprised. I mean, certainly, like when you go back to the Durant-Westbrook dynamic there, you knew that, something was up, and that, maybe things were not great between those two superstars. But no, this to me did hit me kind of out of left field. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I just thought that this was a team that was like, look, we're set at this position. We're set at this position. These guys play well together, and they won a championship together. And so that it surprised me without question.
Ernie Johnson joining me here for a couple more minutes on the Rich Eisen Show, and now you're going to head to North Carolina next week to be part of the PGA Championship coverage. Who do you think, you'll see Jordan Spieth show up there? That was an incredible moment we saw out of him at the Open Championship. I almost said British Open, where,
of course.
I mean, that was unbelievable.
How dare you?
I know. I almost spat in the face of tradition right there. What'd you think of Spieth's performance?
Well, I love that. I love that final round. And as just a fan, you want to see things tighten up. I don't want to see somebody run away with it in the final round. I wanted to see, with him and Kuchar side by side, and then to see the lead escape him. And that's when I start thinking, what's going on in Jordan Spieth's mind right now? Is he going back to Augusta now? Is he going back to saying, and again, I'm not him, and so I don't know what players think, but is he thinking, I'm going to have to answer these questions again about a final round lead? And all of a sudden, after that adventure at the 13th, to hit a tee shot as close as he did on the 14th, birdie right there, having lost the lead momentarily, and then it was a tremendous run, and I think it showed a lot of mental fortitude on his part, along with the shot making, and so no, it was great. It was great drama. It was great theater, and that's, when you go to Quail Hollow, you're hoping for the same kind of thing, playing out in 4 days up there in North Carolina.
So I just kind of hit me. I feel sort of silly, Ernie, just to go full circle here, that you're going again calling Cubs Brewers from Milwaukee, back where you were born. That's because your dad was a Milwaukee Brave through and through, right?
Yeah. Oh, without question. Boston Braves, Milwaukee Braves, World Series in 1957, and I mean that's where I grew up, and it is special because I can drive through my old neighborhood. As I've done when we go to Whistling Straits. The last time we were there for the PGA Championship, I was driving back to the airport and said, well, let's go back down North 68th Street and see what's going on. And I took a picture of the old house, and then the folks who lived there came out, and because I'd been there before, had actually one year had taken my son with me, and I said, here's the house where I grew up. And I knocked on the door, and the people came there, and I explained what was happening. And they said, well, come on in, look around. So it was amazing. The house looked the same. The yard looked the same. And for them to just say, yeah, come on in and look around. And then when I went back to take a picture the next time I was there, the folks came out again and said, hey, how you doing? It's just tremendous.
Well, I don't want to take. I was going to ask you one more question, but I don't want to take you from the phone call, Ernie. That's coming.
No,
into the
believe me,
house.
it's being screened.
Okay, very good. Because we had Reggie Jackson on the horn a couple weeks ago, and he stopped the interview to say, "Hold on a second, it's Hal Steinbrenner on the phone," and he took that call to say, "I'll call you right back," and fully admitted he would not have done that with George if George was the one who was calling in.
No, this is not nearly the gravitas of that phone call for Reggie Jackson. This can be returned later.
So do you have a good story of the first time you ever met Hank Aaron, Ernie?
I don't know if I remember the first time I met him, but I remember, hanging out with my dad when he was a broadcaster, and going down to the ballpark, 5-6 hours early, and always standing around the batting cage and watching BP, and Hank Aaron is asking me how my little league team is doing. And then later his sons went to the same high school that I did, and so I've known Henry for forever and ever. And he's just a prince of a man, and but those were special times, man. I mean, the first time you ever hang out in the big league clubhouse, and you have no idea what you're going to see, and when you see a backup pitcher walking by with just a towel and a cigarette, and you're saying, well, this is not what I expected. So, it was quite an introduction to the grand old game, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we're showing a picture of Hank after he broke the record, and there's Craig Sager at home plate.
Yes, indeed.
We're showing that picture right now, Ernie.
Oh, it was so, that was Segs, too. Segs was such a go-getter and wanted to be wherever the big story was happening. And so for him to be with the white trench coat and the same haircut he always sported, even back then into all of his time at Turner, and he just was a guy who's you're not going to tell him no. He just hit the home run, I'm going to be on the field, which would never happen today, you don't think. But if there's one guy who could make his way to the field for a historic moment these days, it would have been Craig Sager.
I bet. Ernie, always love chatting with you. Enjoy the ballpark this weekend, and then obviously the golf course the following week for the final major of the year.
Yeah, it's always great talking to you, Rich. Hope things are well in your world, and we'll talk again soon.
All good, Ernie. Football's right around the corner. Love doing this show. I've got I'm growing facial hair because I can't grow it on top, so everything's good.
And 14-2 for the Patriots.
Is that 14-2?
Okay, I'll write you down, Ernie.
So vote them down.
Right.
No on the poll question. 14-2.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Not 19-0, Ernie. I'm with you.
No, I don't. It's just too hard to do. It's just too hard to not slip up one or 2 weeks.
I agree.
14-2.
All right.
Take it to the bank.
We'll chat soon. That's Ernie Johnson.
The Rich Eisen Show. Weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you like that, please download our app. There's lots of fun things there other than just more of the videos you just saw. You can call us from the app. You can email us from the app.